every patient who has a baby is not a woman.
Their ancestors are criminals.
How the hell dare you go to somebody else's country as a colonizer?
The term motherfucker came from white slave masters.
All right, guys, today we're gonna be reacting to L takes from Leftists. I've been compiling so many of these, and today we're gonna see how many of them I can handle. Let's get straight into it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into this video, please like and subscribe. As I said before, I've been compiling all these different L takes from Leftists for quite some time, and they've never truly fit together into one video. But today, I'm gonna take this mountain of content, and I'm going to climb it. And you guys are gonna be here to handle it with me. Let's see if we can maintain our sanity throughout. We're starting off on X. This girl named Ashley on X posted this screenshot of text messages between her and another person and said, "This is nuts." When you read the text messages, they read, "Good morning, queen," from the person in question. She responds, "Morning. Also, I don't really like femme terms. I'm at work right now, so responses may be scattered." The person responds, "Sorry, I use that as a way to describe a person's importance, and I also use it towards men as well." The next text reads, "I don't think this is gonna work out because of your sensitivity problem. Bye." And she tries to respond, "Oh, LMFAO," and the text goes green because she's been blocked. With a capital B, queen. She goes on to say on X, "It's the way we were discussing my gender identity yesterday too. I, as in I can't even." And I immediately thought, I'm on the side of the person who blocked you. And I'll explain why in just a moment. But that was not the general consensus on the platform. You had people responding all different types of things to this girl, essentially saying that she dodged a bullet. One tweet says, "Wow, it's not that hard to replace queen with gender neutral terms if they really valued you and understood your identity. Bullet dodged, my majesty," which I guess is their gender neutral version of the term. Another one says, "You weren't being pushy or overdramatic about this boundary. It sounds like someone else has a sensitivity problem. Ellipses." Someone else says, "Wow, yikes. Bullet dodged." And it's just wild to me that we're reading this text message and thinking the poster is the one who dodged the bullet. I'm thinking the one who blocked you is the one who truly dodged the bullet, just like Donald Trump. And I can't say that I wouldn't do the same. If I had to deal with this problem constantly from somebody who I'm just trying to be nice to, at some point you're gonna run out of steam and you just can't handle it anymore. And in peak sensitivity culture, I'm staying away from that issue as much as I possibly can. So when people start to show signs that this is going to be a recurring issue, that you can't really speak freely around them and you have to constantly police yourself so as to make them comfortable, you might as well just cut the tie, block. And at least the person let them know beforehand and said, "Hey, you seem to have a sensitivity problem. This is not gonna work out between you and I." Blocked. They dodged the bullet. And I think growing up is realizing that that girl deserved to be blocked. And hopefully she learns a lesson here, although I doubt it because the internet is reinforcing her belief. All right, next. This one is also about language. You know the term mother effer. Apparently it has origins that we didn't know about.
Do y'all know the term motherfucker came from white slave masters making their biggest, best black male slaves their moms so that they could produce real good big black offspring? And then they would make fun of them by calling them mother because they would make them their mother even though they didn't want to their mother, but the slave masters made them their mother and then would taunt them by calling them motherfuckers.
Okay, I'm gonna take things that aren't true for 2000 Alex because I have a feeling that this is not in fact correct. Honestly, I can't find a single source that substantiates that this is the root of the term mother effer. With just a short search, we find a little bit of information about this curse word. Let's unpack it. The word dates back at least to the 19th century. In an 1889 Texas murder case, a witness testified that the victim had called the defendant a, quote, "goddamned mother effing bastardly son of a bitch," shortly before his death. A later Texas court opinion in 1897 prints the word mother effing in full. And there are many sources that attest that that is the earliest use of the term that we have on record to date. So I'm not sure where this whole slave narrative came from, but we know that people like to play around with language like this. Earlier when doing one of these series, we responded to a girl who said that good morning was racist and that it actually came from the slave era, that people were really telling slaves good morning, as in, did you have a fun time mourning your brothers and sisters and fellow slaves, that whole narrative. And I'm not sure where she learned that either. I don't know if people are just coming up with these things out of thin air, if somebody is teaching them this, but again, it hasn't been substantiated. Let's move on and ask ourselves the question, can men give birth? And we actually have an OBGYN to answer this one.
TW, transphobia.
You know what I do for a living is I assist women in labor. And the things that they are doing are uniquely feminine.
So first off, as a doula, your job is to support the person giving birth. If all of the patients that you have are women, then it's totally fine for you to call them women. However, every patient who has a baby is not a woman. As an OBGYN, I care for many patients who are trans men or non-binary people who have babies. The point of inclusive language is not to misgender someone who is a woman or is a mother. It's to appropriately include, especially in educations on large platforms like TikTok, anyone who might need the information. So how dare you during Pride Month come on this app, which is very inclusive of LGBTQ plus communities, and say that nobody who gives birth can be a man or a non-binary person. Just because you don't care for these people or you don't want to care for these people does not mean that they don't exist, and you don't get to choose what they are called. They do. Do better.
Ooh, do better, says the actual MD. She's an actual MD, an actual OBGYN. Whew, giving the how absolutely dare you to the doula that says that women give birth. You know what? Part of me understands if you're a doctor and you have a patient who is pregnant but swears up and down that they identify as a man and wants to be referred to as he, him, and you still want to provide care to that patient, at some point you're gonna have to give in to what they want to be gendered as, the name that they want to be called. I might say maybe it's best that I'm not the doctor for you in this scenario, given my personal beliefs, and it just wouldn't be a good match. And I think it's important you find a good match if you're going to enter a patient-provider relationship. So she's an OBGYN that seems to be happy with that. We'll refer to them with whatever pronouns they want to be called. We'll refer to them by whatever name they want to be called, and that's fine. But to switch that around and say that men can get pregnant, non-binary people can get pregnant, is absolutely incorrect. Only women can get pregnant. That is the way it has always been. It is the way it will always be. So we can really draw a line there. I'm cool that you're accepting of people who take on different identities and you want to be accommodating and inclusive for all of that because that exists nowadays. But to switch that around and say that men can get pregnant or they thems can get pregnant is absolutely incorrect. Women get pregnant. And I gotta say, I identify more with the first girl in the video that we got a trigger warning for transphobia from because she was indeed telling the truth. And apparently it's a truth that many are not ready to hear. Even certified OBGYNs, whose job is to deliver babies from women, are using this sort of rhetoric. Woo-wee! And I recognize that doctor. She's got a very popular social media where she sort of dispels myths and educates from her OBGYN perspective. And it's great to know that she thinks women can be men whilst also getting pregnant. For this next one, we're gonna stay in the gender bend, I guess. This person is gonna tell us about their identity.
Mostly I feel feminine or non-binary. Today I'm feeling really femme and cat-like as well. Yeah. But I also feel masculine, mostly boyish. I don't ever really want a woohoo. I'm proud to have a hoo-ha. But I also, sometimes want to take these guys off. But other times I'm happy to have them. I love to play with them. I love them. Other days I want to tape them down. I'm running out of time. But yeah, I go through stages of feeling feminine, non-binary, and sometimes boyish.
I gotta say, a lot of these things, when we strip them down to their essence, just feels like you're experiencing different emotions internally and about yourself on any given day, but you're choosing to attribute those emotions to a gender identity. I'm sure there are plenty of women out there where one day you wake up and your body just feels uncomfortable and you're just like, oh, this doesn't feel great today. It doesn't mean that you're feeling boyish that day. It doesn't mean that you're in your male essence that day and that it somehow speaks to your gender identity. It just means you're feeling a little bit uncomfy that day. And sometimes you're feeling a little bit more feminine and you want to lean into that a little bit. Sometimes you're feeling a little bit more masculine and you want to lean into those traits or characteristics. It doesn't mean that you now identify with men or identify as a man. So there's a lot of confusion here. And this person's talking about femme this, gender fair that, man that, boy that, even cat that. So it just speaks to, I think, a little bit of confusion and maybe a lot of bit of confusion and a lot of uncomfortability with oneself mixed with experimentation in this new world that we live in now. And I could just say, you can be a woman and feel a lot of these different things on any different day. And it doesn't mean you have to switch up and change around your gender and explore these things in this way. In fact, I think it's hurting the actual exploration of self to attribute these things to your gender identity and changes in that gender identity. And maybe we could strip ourselves down to who we actually are and think about the different emotions that we have on any given day. And think about how differently we feel about ourselves on any given day. And know that no matter those different emotions and feelings, we are still ourselves in the body, in the gender/sex that we were born as. So, I don't know. I will say though, I've never felt like a cat on any given day, and I don't know exactly what that means. Next, this one says, interviewer gets woman at Pride to admit trans women are in fact men. Uno, reverse. Let's watch.
Beautiful trans women out here. Tell us about your transition, how it went.
Can I hold this, please?
No.
No.
So I have a question for you. Why are you asking me those questions?
Like we're interviewing like trans women and stuff like that.
I'm not a trans woman. I'm a...
Oh, no, we're fully supportive. Do you want to talk about sort of transitioning or anything like that? Or like what people can...
I never transitioned because I was born a woman.
No, of course you're a woman, of course.
Does it make a trans woman any less of a woman?
No, you are 100% a woman.
I'm not a trans woman.
Is there another definition that people like to use, or...
You thought I was a man?
I don't know how I feel about this one. We all know what each of them is trying to communicate to the other, and he's playing off this very ditzy yet inclusive role very well. And at the end of the day, we know what this girl really thinks. She thinks that trans women are women, but there is a little bit of separation in experience as they were born a man and transitioned to become a woman. And she does attempt to communicate that to him, although unsuccessfully. And she ends up getting so frustrated that she just diverts over to saying, I'm not a man, which was clearly a misspoken part of her whole ideology and agenda when it comes to transness. I get it. People are like, haha, this is such a cell phone. She admitted that they're not really women. But we all know at the end of the day, this girl believes that they are actually women. She just doesn't want to be seen as one, which you have to ask yourself why that is and why women seem to be at the forefront of all of these major gender movements. It's because they aren't threatened by trans women. So they're going to cheer on trans women and say that they're really women, but as soon as you start to assume that they are a trans woman, that's not something they want to be associated with. And she should ask herself why. And I think it's more than just the fact that she hasn't personally experienced it. I think she can recognize somewhere deep down in herself that there is a major divide between women and trans women. And if she just explored that a bit, she might find out what that divide is. And it's the divider of sex, binary sex. That has always existed. Sorry. We're gonna move on to a different topic. This one is about immigration. It's been an issue that's been on all of our minds recently, at least I think. I think it's been just collectively on the mind of the West as we're experiencing all this mass immigration. Well, this leftist has an answer to the problem, and an unlikely answer.
Can we talk about illegal immigrants? Because our country is literally full of them. And I'm talking specifically about the whiteys, the Caucasians, the white people in America. They literally are here illegally. Their ancestors are criminals that came here illegally. And I don't know, maybe in the future we can do like a mass deportation, like all these white Americans they can go be refugees in Europe or something. Or like we can like have like a spot in America where like the refugees can go, and obviously we'll provide them with care and stuff, but it's important that they do it the right way. Just because their ancestors didn't doesn't mean they should get the benefits of that. And I think that they should become like they should be deported until they can like work their way back and get a citizenship the right way, like the way I did it. I did all the paperwork. They should also have to, because again, we don't need more criminals in this country. It's already full of them.
Whoa, so many leaps, jumps, skips. We're all over the place with this one. I don't even know where to begin. First of all, I guess she insinuated that white people are criminals. That's a pretty racist thing to be saying. But of course, she's saying that because she views them as the colonizers, which really, even if you did, under our current immigration system, or lack thereof, if we're looking at immigration law, if somebody came to the United States and had a child, which would be what these white people are now, since their ancestors came to the United States and then had them, they would be legal citizens of the United States. So your argument with that very point doesn't make sense. But she's not really trying to make an argument. She's just trying to say, I hate white people. I view them as colonizers. Therefore, we should usher them out of the United States of America because they have very valid concerns about actual illegal immigration that is happening at really every border of the United States, where people are coming in, committing crimes, bringing drugs, sexually assaulting and raping both women and men and boys here in this country. That valid concern that they have makes them somehow racist. And we need to bring back up their colonizer roots, which not all white people in this country have, even through her worldview. And we need to dispel them from our country. She even goes as far as to say we should create sort of these white ghetto refugee camps to put white people in and to separate them from society. But she wants you to believe that white people are the colonizers and the racists. And I must ask her, if she came into this country and became a citizen through the legal process, filling out paperwork, as she states she did in this video, wouldn't you want all the other immigrants who are being funneled into this country to do the same, to go through the same legal process that you did? There should be nobody more upset, I feel, about illegal immigration than immigrants who came here legally. So she needs a little bit of a wake-up call, and hopefully that wake-up call does not come in the actual negative impacts of illegal immigration that other American citizens are experiencing. Because clearly, this girl is very much confused about the issue, and she's most definitely confused about the solution. Moving on. There's been a lot of talk recently about this law that's been passed in California that essentially states that schools can hide information from parents. A great example, if a student comes in and says they're struggling with their gender identity to, say, a teacher or an administrator, the administrator can take note of this, can provide resources to the student without having to tell parents that the student is struggling with their gender identity. A very dangerous law indeed for many reasons. Matt Walsh, a conservative commentator, decided to comment on this law, and the leftist had something to call him. Let's read his tweet first and then the response. Matt says, "This is a basic principle. Schools should not know anything about my child that I don't know. They should not be keeping any secrets from me. It's a classic grooming tactic. Quote, don't tell your parents. This will be our little secret, end quote. What child predators say to their victims. Absolutely sick." Now, of course, Matt is 100% correct in this. There should be no barrier between schools and parents, but a leftist decided to post a screenshot of Matt's tweet and wrote "abusive parent" with a finger pointing down at him, and this got 45,000 likes on X. When we say a lot of people are really straight up in the business of grooming your kids, we mean it. Look at this. They're calling him an abusive parent for saying that when I send my kid to school, I expect to know everything that they're taking in and everything that they share with you when they come home. This is, as Matt says, a basic principle of sending kids into an education system. There should be no secrets kept from parents. In fact, parents basically sign an unspoken contract that when I send my kid to your school, they will be safe and I will know what's going on with that child. But suddenly, this unspoken contract no longer exists because our California governor decides that schools should now be your kid's parents? It's absolutely ridiculous. You do not send your kid to school so that they can be parented by someone else. The school is not their family. You are their family. And we've seen many stories where this takes a completely dangerous turn, including one out of my home state of Florida, where a young girl went to school, was talking about the fact that she's gender confused. The parents were never told. You know when the parents found out that she was gender confused? When their 12-year-old daughter attempted to hang herself in the school bathroom. 2 attempts of suicide, in fact. Don't you think the parents should have been made aware of this issue so so that they could decide what's best for their child. The school does not get to make that decision. So to call somebody an abusive parent for wanting to know what's happening to their child when they go to school is absolutely insane. And it is, in fact, grooming behavior. Let it be known. Guys, I had to get serious with that one because what? How are you gonna say you're an abusive parent for wanting to know more about your child? Next! With the recent assassination attempt on Donald Trump, there's been many a conspiracy theory shared, and I keep finding these on TikTok, so we had to throw one in today.
Every time I try to say something about how Donald Trump's getting shot was literally an exercise in politics and like such a ploy, everyone's always like, well, what about the people that were injured? What about the people that died? Do you guys not think that that man, think about him, think about his morals and personal values, if he has any, do you not think that he would literally kill thousands of people if he felt that he needed to for his own personal gain?
What?
I'm just saying. Like, did you take history? Did you see what happened to Ronald Reagan's approval ratings after somebody attempted to assassinate him? Like, I'm not trying to be like a conspiracy theorist. I'm being for real.
Are you being so for real though right now? What evidence do you have to make the claim that Donald Trump would kill thousands of people for his own political gain? Please, give me a piece of evidence. Because what? Also, what evidence do you have to insinuate that this was somehow staged or fabricated when an actual life was lost? Riddle me that.
Why is it always the case that Republicans experience assassination attempts and Democrats get assassinated?
She says Democrats really get assassinated. Republicans just experience attempts. And this just goes to show that she does not know much about US history and is just speaking Japanese on TikTok. Because Abraham Lincoln, Republican, shot in the head and killed. And maybe it's because she actually thinks Abraham Lincoln is a Democrat, because that's the history that people have been getting for quite some time. No, he was a Republican and he was assassinated. You also have James Garfield and William McKinley, two Republican presidents who were shot and died shortly after, which would be two more successful assassinations on the Republican side. So I'm not sure what point she's making about the attempts on the Republican side and the successes on the Democrat side. But I will subject myself to more and keep watching.
What is I just don't understand how people still think it's real. When I first saw that photo, I genuinely thought it was laughable because it is so clearly trying to be like photo that goes down in history, iconic, da-da-da-da. And it's sickening that people had to be traumatized, injured, and die just for this man to get his front cover photo and for him to potentially win the presidency. And it's even more sickening that y'all don't realize that that's what's going on. Yeah.
So the fact that she can't believe it was such a huge sign of strength is actually a testament to Donald Trump's character in a sort of roundabout way. This is quite honestly a level of delulu that I don't think I ever experienced as a leftist, and I was very delulu when I was a leftist, but this is just peak performance. Peak Trump derangement syndrome. And I'm saying this as somebody who cried real tears when Trump was elected the first time. So never would I have even imagined myself thinking something like this if I was a leftist to this very day. Hi. Okay, next.
He is an Iranian-born woman who won Miss Germany. How do you feel about that?
As she should. Use them white people. She did what she had to do. I respect it. I would have done it. I would do it. I will do it. Shit. Just wait.
Miss Japan was actually white, and people were against her winning Miss Japan. So how do you feel about that?
F*** off.
Why?
How the hell dare you go to somebody else's country as a colonizer, going and colonizing someone else's brand for your own benefit? Once again, they never fail. Miss Germany is absolutely beautiful and absolutely gorgeous, and she better do that shit again.
Oh my goodness, the cognitive dissonance. It's just too real. The switch up was crazy. That is crazy work to switch up just on a dime like that. Wild. And you can probably tell from looking at this happened in quick succession. This guy immediately changed his perspective upon being asked about a white woman. And that is truly how they view the world. If you are a person of color, there is no way that you are in the wrong. If you are a white person, you are always in the wrong. What I ask of this guy is not necessarily that he condemn both of these women for going into the competition and winning them, but that he is even-handed in whatever judgment he makes. And he can't manage to do that because his worldview is just not consistent. It is from the inconsistency and the lack of logic. And clearly, at some point down the line, this person was given a very strong narrative that white people are evil, that they are colonizers, that they ruin everything good, and is just living his life with that in mind constantly. And even when he contradicts himself, he doesn't realize it. I don't think I can take much more of this, so we're gonna do one more. Okay.
There's so much trans hate in the world. There's so much trans hate in the world right now, and I'm so done with it. And pride just means that we are unabashedly happy just to be alive.
Yeah. And where do you personally feel that hate is coming from?
Most places, but especially the government.
And in your own life, where would you say that you feel the hate the most?
I feel like I kind of internalize a lot of the hate, so it feels like it mostly comes from myself at this point.
Oh my gosh, gagged. I can't. There's so much here. Okay, well, at least she's admitting that the hate is, she's internalized it and it is mainly coming from herself. That deep down, there is something that she just does not like about herself, and it's manifesting in her reality, because I think that's the case for more people than would admit it. And I don't think she meant to admit it. I think what she meant to say was that so many people are putting hate on me that is something that I've just manifested within myself, and I now, perpetuate this idea of hatred, but she definitely misspoke. And it's on the tail end of her saying that pride is about being unabashedly happy and proud of yourself, and we feel so great and we're so happy in life. Meanwhile, you admit that you've internalized hatred for yourself, and a lot of the hate that you experience is coming from yourself. I'm gonna be charitable and say that she just wasn't ready for the question, and it's clear that she wasn't ready for the question. She said a ton of trans hate is coming from the government when we're in a pretty pro-trans government right now. So much so that in a lot of places we're allowing children to transition to the gender of their choice. We have people identifying as cats and dogs and they, thems, and amongst the span of all the different sexualities you can have, people are all over the place. Demisexual, pansexual, femboys, all these different crazy terms that are being thrown around. I think we're pretty accepting, maybe a little too accepting in this modern day and age. So I don't know where all the hate is coming from. I think honestly, what happens is if you have a marginalized identity or something that's been dictated to be a marginalized identity, you just convince yourself that there's consistent hate happening all over the place at all times. And in reality, I think she's onto something psychologically. The hate might be coming from inside. The call is coming from inside the house. Nobody else is upset, really. I think it's you who's maybe a little bit uncomfortable with yourself, with the person you were born as, and now it's manifesting in all these different identities and changes to the self and Pride Month and all this other stuff that we are now being subjected to in the year 2024. So she didn't mean to say what she said, but she kind of ate. And I think that's a good note for us to end this video on. Guys, did you make it all the way through? If you did, drop a little rainbow flag in the comments down below so I know you made it all the way to the conversation about pride and unabashed happiness from the person who admits the hate comes from deep inside. Guys, I hope you don't hate me deep inside. And if you don't, like this video, subscribe. Click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every single day. And I will see you guys next time. Drop those rainbow flags down below. Bye, guys.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.